Scorpio Soul Time. I'm Ronique, and this is my esoteric journey where I'm consistently learning progress over perfection. This is where I channel in all of the energies that are going on around us within our realm, if you will. As they say, as above, so below. So everything that is happening up in the heavens with the astrological placements of not only the stars and the planets definitely affect us here down on Earth. And I appreciate you coming here every lunation cycle, which is about every 2.5 weeks, where we explore how to use this energy in our everyday world to better ourselves and to learn from these different placements. So thank you for joining me. And it's exciting to be in this, it's just a turbulent time, isn't it? Like we are literally in smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. And eclipse season, if you watched my last video, began 2 weeks ago. Please look down in the either description box below or down in my playlist. You will see all of the videos that have come about before this one, but this eclipse season is a really powerful one because we definitely were already feeling this momentum of energy going on from way back in March is really where the energies really started picking up. But in this last that full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on June 5th was a new eclipse point. We haven't had a Sagittarian full moon lunar eclipse in I think over 100 years, I think is what I remember hearing. And so remember, we're now getting to this second eclipse, which is a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, which occurs on June 21st at 0 degrees 21 minutes at 2:41 Eastern Standard Time. And so this is the second of 3 eclipses this season, and this is the one that is basically coming off of that one that we had in January. So in January, if you look back at the videos, we did have a lunar eclipse full moon in Cancer on January 10th. Now that January 10th time was a pretty potent time because at that time, January 10th was right around when the Saturn and Pluto conjunction was occurring. So I do invite you to look back at that lunar eclipse full moon in Cancer video here on Scorpio Soul Time, because you're going to see that that is where, if you remember listening to the media, that's kind of where that point was where we didn't hear about the pandemic, but we've later found out that that's literally when information started occurring about the pandemic, like more like in Washington and the government, but we didn't know about that part yet. And so January 10th was it was a turning point for the collective as well as the astrology. And so I want you to look back at that video because this new moon solar eclipse in Cancer is going to I want to say energize, but like bring up themes from that 6-month period ago. And it's hard to believe that we've already gone 6 months since January because we've had so much going on that it feels almost like years to me. I don't know about you, but that Cancer time, I want to show you the Chariot card. And I'm using this deck because this is the Golden Tarot deck. And what I like about it is it has all these very vibrant colored theme. But what I like also about this Chariot, and I'm using Chariot because in the tarot, the number 7 actually represents the Cancerian theme. And so there's this man on his horse, and you can see the horses are like stampeding, and he is like directly driving towards his victory. He is like charging towards what it is he wants to do. This also like represents with his red cape, he is like passionate and fiery, but of course Cancerian energy is a water sign, so it's also about emotion, and it's also about this drive to be able to protect those that we hold dear. So our family, anything around home, like those are the Cancerian themes. And so if you look back in these last 6 months, I want you to think about where is it that you've had to almost make a stand, if you will. You've had to drive possibly a new mindset, a new way of doing things. You've had to become determined to seek victory, maybe in a new way. And remember, the Cancer, Capricorn, North Node, and South Node is the theme that we just moved through in this last 18 months. So this Cancerian theme could even go back 18 months from now. So think back literally like mid 2019 to now. Like, where is it in your life that this Cancerian theme of emotional, taking care of your home life, taking care of your family, driving towards some theme of being protective, feeling secure? Because remember, Cancer sits across the sky from Capricorn. And on July 5th, we're going to have our last of the eclipses as a full moon lunar eclipse on July 5th in Capricorn. And so Capricorn has to do with your resources, but money, not so much Taurus energy of resources, but more like your work life, your goals, what it is you're driving towards. So there definitely has been this sense of what is it in your life that you've had to balance between your home life, your career, your goals, your personal beliefs. And I think all of that has become themes that we've all had to face, especially during this pandemic, now during the injustices that we're seeing amongst like the African American communities, and justice. And there definitely is this ongoing theme of like your personal beliefs and how you feel around your home life, around your family, around your values, and then of course the government and control. And of course that's a lot of that Saturnian, Saturn energy, and then of course Pluto. Like I said, that Saturn Pluto conjunction that happened in January. We are reliving many of these themes now as we come to this second eclipse. And so I'm going to show you here that we are right here. So we are the sun, and the sun actually moved into Cancer on June 20th. So happy birthday to the Cancerians. If you have your sun, moon, or rising sign in Cancer, this eclipse is probably going to be very strong for you. It'll probably bring up many themes around your home life, around your personal values and what you feel emotionally drawn to. And then the moon also is in Cancer. So at this new moon, they are sitting side by side in Cancer. And then we also have, we also have Mercury that is in Cancer, and it actually is retrograde. It went retrograde on June 17th, and it will remain retrograde for 3 weeks. So we have this ongoing theme now of like communications around what you hold dear and what are emotional ties to things dealing with your family, themes around what is it that you need more clarity behind. Because remember, when Mercury goes retrograde, we are now talking about communications, informations, people in your more personal world, what kind of conversations you're having around security, but also like What is it that you're not feeling comfortable with? What is it emotionally that you may have had different values back in January, but now have shifted because of the pandemic, because of possibly your work life, because possibly your family life? We've all had to experience changes, especially around the Cancerian and Capricorn themes. So I want you to keep that in mind as we do today's tarot reading, because there's a lot of energy around Cancer now that we're stepping into this new moon solar eclipse. And so most of the planets, we definitely have some energy down here in Capricorn, because remember, Jupiter and Pluto are still in Capricorn, and then Saturn is right here on the cusp of Aquarius, and it's actually going to retrograde back into Capricorn soon. So I mean, we just have it's a lot of energy, guys, and I think that we're seeing many of these themes play out, especially with Mars in Pisces. Remember, Pisces is that last sign or last astrological sign before we start a new cycle. And so I think that all of this energy behind, you know, our values and what we hold dear to us, but also just these themes of like, where is it that we need more clarity, and especially around communication, right? Like, many of us feel like we're not getting all the communication that is like factual information. And remember that Neptunian energy is still very much a strong, you know, because Neptune and Mars were actually conjunct within this last week too. So there's just like a lot of energy around what is true, what do we believe, what information is like factual. And we're not going to get all the answers. I'm going to be honest with you. We are not going to get all the answers that we want right now, because especially with that Gemini going retrograde, because you're almost getting this sense of like there's that fogginess from Neptune, but then since Mercury is retrograding back into Cancer, it's like information is not going to be clear. We're still going to be kind of like waiting on answers. And I think that each of us are going to have to examine in our own personal life, where is it that you need clarity, but where is it that you emotionally feel drawn to helping your family, helping your community, but being able to sit right with the emotional side of things. I think that this eclipse is definitely going to bring up an emotional attachment, and it could hit really hard to those of us who have like a lot of water energy in our birth charts. I'm a double Scorpio, so I'm my moon and sun are both in Scorpio, and so I've noticed that anytime we have Cancer or Pisces themes, I can feel it as well. And so if you in your birth chart have more water signs, you might feel this definitely more than others. So you definitely, if you can look at your birth chart and find out what houses the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer is going to occur in, I think that will help you too. So before we shuffle, I'm going to clear our energies here with my singing bowl. And sometimes you can hear it on camera and sometimes you can't. We'll see. Okay, so that definitely helps clear our energy. And I also got some sage spray that I like to occasionally spray, because I think that helps clear the energy, and also it helps me be able to tune into like the messages a lot clearer. All right, so let's get started. So we already talked about, we have a lot going on, right? Between the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, the sun now in Cancer, Mercury going retrograde in Cancer, And to top it all off, we have the summer solstice occurring on June 20th. So that's a lot going on, guys. So I want us to focus on where is it in our lives that we need clarity around emotional themes. I want you to think back to January 10th, 2020. I want you to also think back all the way to, let's see, like I said, 18 months ago. So that would literally be like June of 2019, 2018. So we're in 20, so it's like 2018. I think I had said 2019. So it's basically 18 months. So go back 18 months from now. So that would literally be mid 2018. And I want you to think through where is it, especially in the Cancerian part of your chart, around themes of your home life. Oh, there goes the hangman. So the hangman just jumped out for us. Where is it that you need clarity around these themes? I'm going to do a past, present, and future spread, and then I'm going to pull some clarifiers to give us more information. And for me, what I have noticed, and I'll be honest with you, is that the last 18 months for me have been very turbulent in my career world. I think I had like 4 different jobs within an 18-month period, which was very, it was just emotionally draining. And, you know, I would think I was secure somewhere and then found, you know, things that I just could not sit well with. And so I think that for me personally, I'm happy to be getting out of this Cancerian energy, because I can see between the Cancer and Capricorn energies, there definitely was this tug of war between what I personally and emotionally felt secure with, and then what I needed to feel like grounded in from a Capricorn standpoint. So I'm actually going to be happy to be ushering out this 18 months of Cancerian Capricorn energy and ushering in that Sagittarian and Gemini energy. All right, so there's the 2 of Swords that just jumped out. So we definitely already, I can see, are having some themes of not knowing which way to go from a mental standpoint. We might have some decisions that we need to make. With the Hangman, number 12 of the major arcana, there is some information that we're not quite sure about. We might be still feeling like we're in the dark about information, just not having everything that we need to like see clearly. All right, so we're going to cut the deck in 3. Oh, it's raining here. Feels like it's cleansing. All right, so the past, look at that. Got the Chariot, just came up. So you already know what I'm going to say about that, right? 18 months ago, for the last 18 months, that Chariot just came up. So that is symbolizing you have some things that you have needed to work through. Maybe you already have worked through them, but good to see the Chariot, because that is just redefining and just it's kind of like that theme of, have you done what you needed to do? Did you drive towards that victory? That's in the past, so good to see. The middle card, I see the 7 of Wands in reverse. In the future, I see the 6 of Pentacles. All right, so let's go through these one by one. We kind of already talked about these major themes of the 2 of Swords and the Hangman. I think what's interesting about this Hangman, sometimes I can't get it out good. All right. What I think is interesting about this Hangman, though, is usually the Hangman, he's like bound from his feet, like hanging from a tree. But this one is actually depicted, I think, in an interesting way, because he still has like the rope around his feet, But if you look up here, do you see how the rope makes an infinity sign? I think that's really important to note because that infinity sign is almost like there's a balance needed in our own selves when we don't have all the answers, when we are feeling confused. And I think it's interesting because it looks like he's underwater and there's this, you see this fish? So I feel like there's this theme of being able to feel connected without knowing all the answers. Does that make sense? Like, it feels like there's this way of just trusting the flow, just trusting how things go, not knowing where things are going to end, not knowing like what the next steps are, but almost like in this watery emotional energy, like I said with Cancer, there's this feeling of, yeah, you're not going to have all the answers right now, but just trust that in this infinity loop, you're going to be brought back around. You're going to have information as the time goes on, but you almost have to just trust yourself that things are going to work out. Things are going to start showing themselves. And I think that this Two of Swords kind of mimics that energy. Let me show you that one. So the Two of Swords, usually in the Rider-Waite deck, the Two of Swords has a woman who is blindfolded and she has her arms are crossed and she has the two swords, and it's like she either needs she has a decision she needs to make. She needs clarity that she doesn't have yet. She has to make a decision that she's just not quite sure about. And this Two of Swords, I think, is interesting because you can see the dark clouds back here in the past or behind him. I always think of anything behind a person as in the past. But these two swords, and he's like kneel down, and you can see he's like in despair and trying to figure out which way he should go. He's not sure which clarity of swords he should even take. He just really is like in this yin and yang. And so I think that that is interesting that these two cards fell out, because there is this sense to me as we move into this energy of this eclipse is you're not going to have everything as nice and perfectly aligned as you would like. You're gonna feel like there's this tug of war within yourself as well as the collective. Like, this could be around your job, it could be around your emotional torment inside yourself. Swords usually mean clarity of the mind, and the Hangman also with this water is signifying to me emotional energy, that you're just very confused. You're just not sure where to turn. And I think that that's going to be true for most of us. I think most of us are in this place right now that we're just trying to figure out things. We're just trying to like occupy ourselves in this, trying to figure out where we fit in this new world of the new norm, as everyone keeps saying. So keep that in mind as we go through this reading. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the Chariot card just because I know that we pretty much talked about it, but I do want to just reiterate that with it showing up in the past position, I definitely want you to look back through these last 18 months and figure out where the Cancerian themes have played out in your life, where your home life has changed, your family, also anything dealing with emotional resources. There could be things that you put in place maybe a year ago, maybe even just 6 months ago, like I said, at that full moon in Cancer on January 10th. But most of us have had to change our values and how we move towards a goal. And so that's what I want you to think about is in this last 18 months, this last 6 months, where is it in your life that you need to move forward stop living in the past, and be able to gain control again. The Chariot is very much about gaining control and driving toward your goals. And so I think that this is positive that it's not in a reverse position, because then sometimes that's more a sense of losing control, or the horses are kind of just like on their own, you know, they're just running wild. But with it in the upright position, I have this feeling that either you have already gained control of what you need to, and you're looking back in the past like, okay, I was able to accomplish that. Or you might be redirecting the horses, redirecting the reins, maybe pulling back on the reins in certain areas of your life that are emotional. Or there can be a sense of like security needs to be regained in certain ways, because remember, the Cancer crab also has to do with that hard shell exterior, but like inside you're emotionally like not in the place that you want to be. So I want you to think through whatever themes have occurred for you in your life. Where is it that you need to gain more control and use it to steer yourself in the right direction moving here into this new cycle of the new moon solar eclipse? Okay, and in the present, it is in reverse, but I'll show it to you right side up. So we have the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands in the Rider-Waite deck usually is this person who's standing there with his wand, like fighting off all these other sticks, but you can't see any other people. It's just you. So Seven of Wands is this theme around being able to take your passion, take your willpower, because Wands is a fire energy. So taking all of that, but using it to either go towards your goals, fight off any kind of negative things that are coming your way. But also I feel like there's this energy of like, you're going to have to do a lot of things on your own that maybe you haven't done before. And so I think it's interesting that in this deck, you can see these wolves down here. And so it's almost like you are able to tame whatever it is that you didn't have control over before. But remember, this is in reverse. So I'm almost sensing that there's this feeling that you can't tame, or that you are going to have some stresses in your life around self-control, or being able to control things that you may feel are out of your control. And so this can, like I said, go back to these themes of like, since this is Wands, this can be a fiery energy. So this could be an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius in your life that maybe is trying to control you, or you're feeling like you've lost control out of a situation. And so I think that this makes, you know, it fits well, unfortunately, with our theme of right now in the collective, where we feel like we're not all balanced. We feel like we all are trying to control so many things that are out of our control. And I think that that kind of makes all of us feel like we're just willy-nilly, right? Like we're just being forced to go wherever we hear is the right place to go, right? Like with your job, they're telling you what you need to do. In the news and the media, or your local government, they're telling you what the next steps are. It's like, I think we've all as a collective lost this ability to feel like we're in control. Like if this was turned around like this, I would say, okay, yeah, we're all on the right path. But since it is reversed, there's this feeling of like, where is it that you need to regain control, right? Where is it that you need to maybe take back more of the onus on yourself and not rely so much on the government, not rely so much on the media to get your information, right? So I definitely think we need to all keep that in mind moving through this eclipse season, that we're not all going to have, you know, it goes back to this Hangman and the Two of Swords. Everything is not going to be as it seems. Everything is not going to be like as cut and dry as we would like it. And even though we're going to have to go through things on our own, I think there's this sense of this emotional attachment to certain things that you had in the past. You're going to have to find ways to move on from them, or maybe, like I said, with the Chariot, steer those horses, steer your goals, your themes of where you thought you had control, and steer it in a different direction. I mean, we're all having to do that. We're all going to have to pivot in a different way than before. And then in the future, we have the Six of Wheels, which is the Six of Pentacles. And you can see that there's this mother and she's helping her child. Looks like they have picked fruit from up here, so that is already a sign of abundance, passing down, almost like a generational, helping out your kids, helping out your family. I think that this is a very welcoming card, because I feel like the Pentacles deal with resources and things that we need to be able to feel secure. And so I feel like that's also that sense of, like, Pentacles have to do with earth energy. That could be a Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo. So there's almost like this energy, I feel like, of resources are on the way. It could be a job, it could be information from a friend, someone higher up than you, maybe letting you know of a job that is going to become available if you have been one that has been affected by the pandemic and the economic downturn. I feel like this is a really positive sign for all of us, because 6 also has to do with communications, of being able to feel secure and feeling more, working with a community, working with, helping others. And so there's this sense of, like, not only the fruit bearing up here, like resources and things that you need to feel more vital, you know what I mean? There's like this sense of, like, feeling like we can help each other, but also like what we need is there, but it might take some time for, obviously, this little child he's learning now, but it will take time for him to grow up at the age of, like, his mother. So it's like there's this slow fruitfulness, there's this slow resources are coming, but they may not all come at once. You're going to have to wait and, like, plant seeds now to be able to see the reaping the rewards of the future. And I think that it's a positive sign, because I think that many of us have felt down going into the second half of 2020. I mean, let's face it, this has been a year that none of us could have predicted, and we are all just trying to work with these energies. I think it's interesting that I see the 2 7s here, the 7 Chariot and the 7 of Wands. And 7, I want to pull out my numerology card here. I have this great numerology card that I got on Amazon that I think is really cool. And you can see here, it's like this. You can get these like on Amazon or anything, and they kind of help you try to understand, like, the different numbers and what different symbols mean. And 7 here says intellect, mystical, philosophical, secret. But I think that there was somewhere on here that would lead me here. Here it is. So financial gain and success. So I think that's interesting. And do you see right here? It says teach others, cooperate, obey orders. So isn't that interesting that the 7 literally says financial gain and success, and that's what I was speaking of with the 6 of Pentacles. And 6 actually says future will have to change. Isn't that interesting? And then the 7 says obey orders and teach others and cooperate. And so I feel like there's this teaching, there's this feeling of, as you go through the control and being more the leader of your domain and taking control of things, there's also this yin and yang of still helping others, still cooperating, still working to regain some sort of feeling of strength within you know, your community, within your family. That's another thing with that Six of Wheels, is like I'm feeling like that Cancerian energy of the new moon solar eclipse is going to yield a lot more family time, a lot more strength and uniqueness with growing from our family, growing from our community, but also maybe helping others, whether this is through church or volunteering. I think there's definitely this strength of being able to work with others. So I think that's a positive energy, especially with all of this kind of doom and gloom up here with the Two of Swords and the Hangman, kind of like not knowing where things are going. So let's pull 3 cards. See this Ace of Swords. We're going to put him back in. And I'm going to pull some clarifier cards for the Chariot, the Seven of Wands, and the Six of Wheels, just to see where we're at here with this Cancer theme that will try to come out. See, my cards are just like kind of crazy. So let me make sure they're all faced the right way. I see that Queen of Pentacles try to show her head. All right, so there I want the Ten of Swords. You saw that, right? But it's in reverse. Ten of Swords, if you have to get the Ten of Swords in reverse, is always a good sign, because that means mental clarity is on its way and you are no longer having to deal with that burden on your back, if you will. So that's what that Ten of Swords that just flew out is. So I am glad to see he fell in reverse. All right, so let's split the cards and we are going to look at what the Chariot in the past means. Okay, so for the Chariot, I have the Knight of Swords. Very interesting that you have a horse and a knight on his back that is charging forward. So that's in perfect alignment with the Chariot. Then in the present, let's clarify the Seven of Wands. Why is the Seven of Wands here? Okay, we have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Makes sense that it's in reverse, just like how the Seven of Wands was in reverse. And for the future, let's clarify why the Six of Pentacles is here. Why is the Six of Pentacles in the future? Oop, too many cards. Six of Pentacles in the future. Why is the Six of Pentacles here? Ah, we have the Magician in reverse. And I just heard turn over the last card. Ah, Five of Pentacles. Isn't that interesting? All right. So we kind of already talked about that Ten of Swords in reverse. I do think that the Ten of Swords, though, is a positive sign, meaning instead of us worrying about things that are in the past, let's move forward. Let's leave the past in the past. And I just heard that's all you need to know. Leave the past in the past. You're moving on, okay? So that's good to hear. All right, so the Knight of Swords, that is clarifying the Chariot. So the Knight of Swords, and you can see I use the Rider-Waite deck as the clarifiers because I just think that it's nice to have a really clear and concise clarification as opposed to like, what did the artist mean and why, how it's different. I just like using the Rider-Waite deck on the clarifying. So for clarifying the Chariot 7, we have this Knight of Swords. And I feel like there's this sense of Knight of Swords have to deal with clarity, information mentally, but the Knight of Swords is kind of like a hot ass. Like he's just kind of like, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to have any, I'm not going to think about what I need to do. I'm just going to go. And so The danger with the Knight of Swords is you can put your foot in your mouth, you can do things too hastily. And with the Chariot card, I think it's interesting because usually when the Chariot is in reverse, it is more signifying like you haven't thought things through, things are just kind of going willy-nilly. So I think it's interesting that these are both upright. And so since this is clarifying this card, I'm getting this sense of maybe you have done things too hastily in the past and you haven't thought things through, just as if the Chariot was in reverse, because I'm feeling like the Knight of Swords is almost saying like, you're just going through, in the past, you have just gone on your way in a hastily way. You haven't thought through what you needed to think through. You didn't have all the information. And I think that that's a theme also going from the beginning of this year, right? Many of us have had to react to information that we did not have all the answers to. Many of us have had to take just information and we haven't had all of the clarity that we want to, and we've just had to just go about it almost like you're just like, okay, charge, like I'm out there, I'm just doing what I'm doing because this is what I'm told to do. So I think that we all need to learn a lesson from this Knight of Swords in the past, like, okay, that may have worked, may or may not have worked in the past, but it's now time to put a little more it's time to put a little more thought and intent into how we go about what we're doing. We cannot just keep charging into these circumstances and hoping everything turns out okay. All right. All right. So in the present position, I have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. And the Page of Pentacles, pages usually mean young energy. Pentacles are usually a earth energy, like I said. But you might have, sounds like there's a delay. I hear that there's a delay in resources, a delay in information getting to you, especially with us coming into this Mercury retrograde in Cancer. What I'm hearing is there may be information, there may be messages that we're going to get to you about your resources, about maybe a job, maybe about time, energy spent doing something, and you don't hear it when you would like to hear it. So especially coming off of the Seven of Wands in reverse with both of these, what I'm hearing is there's almost like this sense of what you were trying to have control over, you can't get the control you need because you were waiting on information, you were waiting on resources, you were waiting on hearing about resources. This also sounds like to me, especially with like how the unemployment is going right now, how many people still haven't received their checks from the government. Many people I know that have been laid off are still waiting, or furloughed, waiting to hear whether they're going to be hired back in, you know, the next upcoming months. I think that there's this feeling in the present of not having all of the information and resources to move forward, to feel control over what wasn't working like in the past. So I think that you're going to have to be patient, and that's what I said up here with the Two of Swords and the Hangman. There's no amount of worry like the Two of Swords that you can do that's going to make anything happen faster. So I would say, instead of worrying and concentrating on the information you haven't received yet, especially with this Ten of Swords popping out, you can't keep worrying about it. You're going to have to move forward. You're going to have to move to the present, because remember, up here in the present, we have the Magician on the Six of Wheels. And I think this is a really good sign, because the Magician obviously is one of the best cards of the deck. I think it's interesting that our Magician here has that same infinity sign above his head, no different than our Hangman. So there's that confirmation of balance needed, of that infinity loop of you just have to be patient. Everything that goes around comes around, the yin and yang of just being in control. But since it is in reverse, there is a sense of you having to be patient. It's not going to probably come in the time that you would like it to come, but there's this sense of you just having to work with others in your community, at your job. This can be more around your family. I feel like you have all the resources, or you're going to be obtaining all the resources. Remember, the magician has all the resources he needs. He has his wand, he has his sword, he has his cup, his pentacle. Like, he has everything he needs, but you're going to have to be patient. For all this fruit and abundance to occur, you're going to have to wait a little while longer. And I mean, that makes sense. Remember, we're in retrograde season, guys. So I mean, everything is not going to just fruition in the time period we would like. And so I think we're going to have to get through quite a few of we're going to have to get out of eclipse season for one. And we're going to have to wait till Venus goes direct later on in July. Remember, we still have that third eclipse July 5th. So I really think it's going to be like August, September before we're going to start seeing some of the information come out that we're looking for. And with this Five of Pentacles, I think there's going to be some disappointments along the way. Remember, Five of Pentacles are these two people out in the cold, and they're don't realize that there's a church behind them that they can go in and get food and get shelter and get resources. So I think there's this sense of, since we had the Six of Pentacles and now we have the Five of Pentacles, I'm a little concerned that with this coming out that there's kind of like a, what do you call it? Like you go back, like you digress. I feel like there's a digression here. I'm concerned that with this and that Ten of Swords, these are both kind of like cards of not being in a good place, not being like in a happy place, concentrating more on what isn't working than what is working. And so I want you to keep this in mind as we go through this summer. I think that there is some themes of, many of us are going to go through a feeling of kind of being in our feelings, more of that. I'm surprised the Devil card didn't come out, because I'm getting a strong sense of like that Capricornian devil energy of like, woe is me, I don't have this, when is this gonna happen? Like, I feel like that's like a theme of this whole season. And so I want you to think through from, like I said, this beginning of January 10th, 2020 season of this last 6 months, 18 months prior, like June of 2018 till now. I want you to systematically come up with ways that you can write down your accomplishments, write down things that you have accomplished, and not just dwell on what hasn't occurred, but also get really clear on what you want to happen in this next 6 months. Because remember, all of these eclipses are 6-month energies, and so there really is this theme to me of your emotional attachments to many things that you have been holding on to, you do not need anymore. They're no longer serving you. Like that cycle has ended. And I think that Ten of Swords is also this theme of, where is it that you need to put more focus on you, more focus on not just worrying about the things that you have no control over, because I think there are things we do have control over. And I love this Six of Pentacles the most out of this entire deck, because I feel like there's this sense of, you just have to be patient, you just have to help those who are in need, help those who don't have as much of you as you. Even though you feel like you're in a bad place, I promise you that you are better than someone else. And that's what this Six of Pentacles to me really signifies. Is like, you're helping others, you're passing down this generational wealth, and you're passing down information. Like, remember, it's not only about your physical resources. It's about your spiritual growth. It's about your mental health. And this Two of Swords and Hangman, remember, you're not going to have everything, guys. We're just not. And we're just going to have to be patient. And we're going to have to realize that, look, we have the Magician and we have the Six of Wheels coming up, Six of Pentacles coming up in our future. So let's think positive. Let's know that the resources, even though they haven't shown up in our, or they haven't manifested in our physical world, it's on the way. But if you get stuck in this Five of Pentacles, Ten of Swords, woe is me type attitude, it's going to take that much longer for you to see that you have the resources. So I just want us to stay the course, guys, because I think that we're going to get through it. It's a lot of energy, but I feel positive that, you know, it's all going to serve us in a better way in the future. So thank you all for joining me here on Scorpio Soul Time. If you would hit the bell and subscribe to my channel, if you would share this with your friends, family, anyone you think that could benefit from my readings, I would really appreciate it. I'm excited that my channel is slowly growing, but it is growing, so it's exciting to have all of you all here. So those of you who have come back time and time again, I do appreciate it. And I wish you all a healthy, safe new moon solar eclipse season, as well as Mercury retrograde season. And you know, guys, we're gonna make it. We're gonna do it. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.